It's hot enough to boil a monkey's arse up here, Your Majesty. We're going to, there's somebody fondling a woman down here. Could you throw her up here when you're finished? Very nice.
Yes, hard rock and heavy metal has always been very macho and male-orientated. We all know that. But everyone who goes along to a gig to watch Whitesnake and watch David Coverdale flaunting the microphone, as it were, or singing the double entendre lyrics, or bought the Love Hunter album, understands basically there's a humour there. And you don't take it seriously.
If you want to over-intellectualise it, then, you know, there is an argument that they were being sexist, both in the way they presented their records and what they contained, you know, on those records. But to the people that went out and bought those records, who were people like me at the time, didn't give a toss.
Babe, I'm gonna sneak up behind you. Lord, I'm gonna sneak up behind you. And I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna crawl up your leg, babe, and look what's inside.
We're thrilled with the album, you know. It's all the time. It's the whole thing about the band is going towards what I think we'll recognise when we get there, you know, which is going to be absolutely what Whitesnake is totally about. I think at the moment, we were saying earlier, maybe 75% of the album is right. You know, the other 25% is not putting the other 25% down, but just to say that, you know, that's got to be brought into line, that little 25%.
The peak
it's
of
about
this
songs, though, like David was saying. It's more about songs than about performances.
The Love Hunter album, we've stuck it incredibly to very basic and very primitive, simplistic recording. You know, just using, you know, a couple of tracks and leaving spare tracks on the track sheet. The engineer can't believe it. You know, he can write letters to his wife, you know, in the space release.
Do you think
then live it would transcend the recording? That's what it's very exciting.
Walking in the Shadow of the Blues is one of the absolute stone cold Whitesnake classics. A great rock song.
Walking in the Shadow of the Blues is up there with Ain't No Love in the Heart of the City as sort of like big signature tunes for Whitesnake. It's blues rock with balls, basically.
It was an early hit with Whitesnake fans because it had everything about it that really sort of encompassed what Whitesnake could do. It's also got a great anthemic feel, so in a way it's a classic hard rock song that still sounded fresh and vital in 1979 and was immediately something that put it into the modern era as it was then, while recording the classic times of Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin and particularly Free, I always felt.
And I think that's one of the nice things about the Snakes. It can, you know, you can hear that we want to do it.
And another rewarding quality is the fact that the live performance transcends the record. But we have a live album in the can, which has got some...
We're all playing in the can.
Yeah, we've got a great echo in the can. No, it really transcends what we actually recorded.
In 1978 on the Trouble Tour, Whitesnake recorded their Hammersmith Odeon show, their first ever show at the legendary venue. That was done for Japan because the Japanese market, being the way it is, always demands more and more product from successful bands. It was a single album when it came out in Japan and did really well out there. 2 years later, finally, EMI in the UK got the idea, oh, a live album from Whitesnake might be quite cool. So they recorded a 1980 show at Hammersmith as well, and put out a double album.
But it looked like it was very hastily kind of packaged, because you had the two discs in a single vinyl, in a single sleeve. It didn't have a gatefold sleeve, and the cover was possibly one of the worst album covers of all time. Just a terrible painting of the band live on stage. It didn't really do any of them any justice whatsoever. But as an album, it's a great record.
I think it's almost impossible to get the intensity of a live show, whether it's ours or anybody's, on record. You haven't got the visuals. Well, as I say, you know, you can't see the band moving about to the music and performing and getting off on the music. You're just hearing a live album. Right. You know, Purple, like Made in Japan, I've heard some of Made in Japan, and that's very good, but it certainly hasn't got the intensity.
This is the only live Whitesnake album, the only live official Whitesnake album, because David Coverdale actively dislikes them. He says they're a con. They're lazy, they're a con, and he was always more interested in working on new material for Whitesnake. Thinks they're cop-out.
I mean, it's a shame that, in a sense, you have to rely on one live album when actually there probably would be 100 different versions of some of the songs. Not, you know, only small differences, but some nights would be incredibly magical and others not. Typically, but you can't, it's just luck of the draw.
But they sound brilliant on that album, absolutely fantastic, really sort of lean and powerful and hungry, and you know, they really do. I don't think they could ever sound better than that.
It showcased brilliantly what Whitesnake were about on stage, which is a tremendously strident blues rock band with a charismatic frontman, wonderful songs, and a real sense of what it's like to be part of an audience. It's one of the great live albums.
Whitesnake absolutely nailed it on that live album, and they just sound great. It's exciting because the crowd are really up for it, and they're all singing along, and it's a, you know, and he always called them the Whitesnake Choir, a little bit cheesy, but there's a few dubious moments, but there are on everywhere. But it's a great album.
It's a song for you.
Fool for Your Loving had a very commercial, catchy riff. I mean, when I heard that first, I really thought, oh yeah, this is probably going to be a hit.
The single Fool for Your Loving was a bit of a milestone for Whitesnake, because suddenly this put them in the charts. It gave them a proper top 20 hit single in the UK. It did sound a little bit like Foreign. It also sounded a little bit like Rainbows All Night Long, but that didn't really matter.
I've actually checked the recording schedules, and it is just possible that Whitesnake had heard All Night Long and thought, oh, we can base a song around that. Although I very, very much doubt it.
I wanna touch you, I wanna feel you, I wanna make you mine. I wanna be I wanna lie down, I know. I wanna be with you, I know. I wanna lie down, I know. I wanna be with you all night long.
To say that Fool for Your Loving sounds exactly like All Night Long by Rainbow, I mean, that's something I've actually never thought of, and believe me, I've listened to those tracks many, many times over many years. Thinking about it now, maybe, yes, you can see it, but I think, let's be frank, Fool for Your Loving is a better song.
So I decided to